A very good morning and welcome to the Algarve in southern Portugal, to the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve for Stage 5 of the 2026 C6 Bank Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. Hello everybody, Alex Goldschmidt with you all the way through this weekend. As 3 weeks ago, in the history of the 22 seasons of the Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, they headed to the Circuit de la Sarthe to Le Mans for just the Carrera Cup adventure. But this weekend we welcome back not just the Carrera Cup Brasil, but also the Sprint Challenge Brasil for Stage 5. What has been an exciting season in prospect so far. And of course, the circuit that we have here at the moment has been a recent addition, but is technical, is modern, and has been around since October of 2008. It measures just under 4.6 kilometers, 15 turns as we are underway with timed qualifying for the first of 3 divisions in the Carrera Cup. We now concentrate on the Carrera rookie side of things, where the 16-year-old son of ex-Formula 1 and ex-Formula E driver Felipe Massa, Pipo Massa, currently leads the way on 91 points as he has quite an extensive advantage over the likes of Bruno Campos, Jose Moraneto, Marco Billy, Leonardo Sanchez, et al., as they will tackle this Algarve roller coaster circuit. And it also signals a bit of the summer, let's say, sort of holiday away from home. This is the home away from home for this championship. So the cars that are going to be used in the first 3 qualifying sessions, the first 4 qualifying sessions, which is the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup 992.1 car with around 510 horsepower, max speed of just under 270 kilometers an hour, 0 to 100 kph in 3.2 seconds. So Carrera Rookie, Carrera Sport, and Carrera will all have a 15-minute qualifying session. And then after that, the top 10 from all 3 categories will then head into a top 10 shootout for overall pole position. The same will be said for Challenge Rookie, Challenge and Challenge Sport, the latter 2 running together. And then we'll have also the top 10 decision with regards to pole position before we go into the first of 2 races per category, which will be 25 minutes plus an additional lap. 1 today, 1 tomorrow. So at the moment, we have 12 and a quarter minutes left on the counter here at Portimao for the first of 3 sessions. Marco Billy in the number 83 car returns. Good to see him back out on track, having competed in the challenge side of things a couple of years ago. But there is also a few other drivers, including the number 9, Edu Guedes, who currently sits 10th at the moment in the Carrera rookie standings with 18 points to his credit. Makes his way through in towards Lagos at turn 3. Then it's uphill into turn 4 before the run over the crest, which is pretty much blind, down into the tight left-hand hairpin. A good overtaking opportunity here at Torre Vip. Hard on the brakes goes Guedes and rotates the car through the corners. First couple of lap times are coming in, and it's Paulo Souza in the number 25 that leads the way on a 1 minute 57.123. So these are pretty much banker laps. There's the number 33, currently second in Carrera Rookie, Bruno Campos, making his way out of Primera at turn 1 through into the slight right-hand kink at turn 2 before Lagos at turn 3. Now, one of the other things about the 992.1 car is they do have the boost function. And how is that indicated on these cars? Where the headlights will start flashing the high beam, and it gives the drivers an additional round about 30 horsepower of additional deployment that can be used as an attacking or defensive countermeasure during the racing. We've even seen it happen in qualifying. But Wagner Pontes in the number 99 car puts in a 1 minute 51.145. We've seen lap times in around about the 150s yesterday. Likes to, well, I think even quicker than that. That's for the challenge cars that we'll see later on. Of course, this being the 22nd season of the C6 Bank Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. And after this weekend, the Endurance Challenge will make its return, with Portimao hosting the first of 3 rounds, which will see us go into battle for a significant period of time where 2 driver teams, maybe even 3 driver teams, will make their appearance here at the Algarve circuit. So Wagner Pontes currently sitting 7th in the Carrera rookie side of things on 23 points. Just 1 ahead of Luis Souza in the number 39. So at the moment, well, Sang-Ho Kim, who speaks very, very good Brazilian Portuguese, as we found out at Le Mans a few weeks ago, is one of the last drivers to come on out. But Bruno Campos, the first one to dip underneath 1 minute 50 seconds, as Marco Billy in the number 83 puts in a 1:48.734. As there you see the headlights flashing down the start-finish straight over the crest after the start-finish line, and heading into Primera at turn number 1. So Marco Billy leading the way, 1:48.734 ahead of Wagner Pontes, Paulo Souza, Flavio Sampaio in the number 11 car now goes into 2nd position on a 1 minute 49.113. Leonardo Sanchez now goes up into 5th position. And the time's looking rather tight between the top 8 at the moment. Maybe make that the top 9. That's rounded out by Marco Pisani in the number 12 car. About 1.8 seconds separating them at the minute, but drivers are improving. Track temperature just over 40 degrees centigrade. So this will be very much a case of seeing how these drivers will get on as the track evolves. The temperatures here in Portimao will be increasing over the course of the day. We are looking north of 30 degrees centigrade. So the drivers will have to keep themselves hydrated, keep themselves cool. As Bruno Campos goes to within 49 thousandths of a second of Marco Billy. But then now, Pipo Massa jumps in the number 19 car, a 1:47.940 for the young man, who along with Antonello Bassani made it the, I think, last time out 3 weeks ago, it was the youngest ever front row, apparently, in Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil history, when Pipo Massa shared the front row with Antonella Bassani, the 20-year-old who we'll see in action, and she's partway through her 2nd full season in the Carrera Cup, having taken a title back in 2023. And there is Pipo Massa running in the same number as his dad, Felipe. And Felipe having had the opportunity, well, myself having had the opportunity to commentate on his dad in Stock Car Pro Series Brazil. But you can see he's really getting to grips with his first full season in sports car racing. This young man has been incredibly impressive, and no wonder he's got a lot. He's got a good set of shoulders to rest on and to gain advice from as well. But Marco Billy starting to also push the envelope, because he's within 37 thousandths of a second. Marco Billy is 37 thousandths of a second within him. Also, Jose Muraneto in the number 45 has just gone in with a 1:48.009. Massa now engaging the boost. And he's gone even quicker still with a blistering lap time. 1:47.140 for Pipo Massa as he fires his way through the sweeping downhill right-hander at Primera. And that is nearly 8.5 tenths of a second ahead of Marco Billy, with Jose Muraneto, Bruno Campos, Flavio Sampaio rounding out the top 5. And they are covered by just over 1 3/4 seconds. And there is Bruno Campos in the number 33. again, just to hear the roar of a flat six boxer engine is unlike any other. You can just see by the way the topography here in Portimao is conducive to the way that the circuit pans out for the drivers. Campos makes his way out of Portimao, funny enough, turns 10 and 11. Through into turn 12 and 13. And then it's going to be a slight uphill run through to Sagres here at turn 14 before they go through Galp. Now this is a very, very high committing right-hander. It's downhill. You're constantly on the throttle. You've got to be very careful of your steering. There is Jose Moreneto in the number 45, who's getting out of the way. That is of the number 12 car, Marco Pisani. In the wonderfully leopard print liveried car. Now that car has made appearances in the past couple of seasons, and it's quite unmistakable. But it's always good to see that drivers making sure that their cars get noticed all the while. We've got 3 minutes and 33 seconds on the clock still to go. And there you see the headlights flashing with a high beam. That is the boost being engaged. Of course, one of the beautiful things that we are seeing now is that it's great to see Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil and Insurance Challenge Brasil come back to Portimao. In years past, we've visited both Estoril and Portimao, but of course the organisation decided, well, let's see if we can up the ante, and then to be a support class of the biggest sports car race in the world, the Le Mans 24 Hours, and Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil to being a big part of the support paddock. So a great, sort of chapeau to everybody at the team at Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, supported by C6 Bank, for making that happen. That is Jose Moreneto, who has closed the gap to Pipo Massa of 1 minute 47.809. Bruno Campos now up into 4th position as Moreneto hard on the brakes. The nose dips down. And just the amount of commitment that you need at a circuit here, like Portimao, it is going to be crucial. And when we were seeing a little bit earlier on in the week, when the drivers had official free practice, we were seeing quite a few drivers, including Pipo Massa, be at the top of the timesheets. But when we get to the real elbows out qualifying, where it's times are for show, but we do know that in the longer scheme of things, points are to go here in this season, which is incredibly competitive. Well, Sprint Challenge Brazil not able to. There's quite a lot of logistics, and I have to say, really great job by the social media team for documenting the whole, from start to finish, of talking about the logistics, because a lot of containers got transported from Brazil over to Le Mans, and then everything has been packed up and has been brought over here to the Algarve. We're into the final 30 seconds of this first of 3 separate group qualifying stages before we go into the top 10 shootout. And Bruno Campos out of Galp, the final corner, is going to get an opportunity at a final qualifying lap here in this 15-minute session. Does he improve? Well, his last lap was his personal best, a 1:48.198. Marco Pisani currently rounds out the top 5, and they're covered by 1.3 seconds as the timer hits 0. So the session is at an end. Pipo Massa is currently in pit lane. So is Leonardo Sanchez, the number 15. Currently sitting P5 at the moment on 32 points, behind Marco Billy, who's just 4 points ahead. Of course, for those that did watch the racing at Le Mans, Michael Fassbender, the German-Irish actor, originally born out of Heidelberg in Germany, who teamed up with Max Wilson at the 500 kilometers of Interlagos last year, was back with Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. And great to see the Hollywood actor having an opportunity to race in these wonderful cars once again. But as things are coming to a conclusion, Pipo Massa once again showcasing his young effervescence here at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve. It's around about a 30-minute drive from here to Praia da Rocha in the Algarve province of southern Portugal, so not too far off of the beachfront. And had the opportunity myself personally to come to this circuit with another member of the Porsche family, Porsche Sprint Challenge Suisse. As we now see that our second group is going to be getting ready very shortly, which is going to include the likes of Josimar Jr. and the number 27. But it's Lino Perez who leads that by not much. But Pipo Massa with an absolutely rip-roaring lap time in that session takes provisional pole in Carrera Cup with a 1:47.140 ahead of Jose Moraneto. Marco Billy rounding out the top 3, covered by just over 8 tenths. I have to give a shout out to my colleagues doing the the Portuguese side of things with Luc Monteiro, Tiago Mendoza, Chris Diaz. Bom dia to all of them. As there's going to be a lot of moving around here in the garages. So Pipo Massa takes the pole position here in Carrera Cup out of Jose Moraneto, Marco Billy, Bruno Campos, Marco Pisani rounding out the top 5, Flavio Sampaio, Luis Souza, Wagner Pontes, and the number 99 rounding out the top 8, covered by just under 2.1 seconds. Edu Guedes, Leonardo Sanchez, Andre Gajinski, and Sang-Ho Kim rounding out the 13 that have qualified so far. But we're going to have a few more drivers making their way as engines roar and drivers make their way down pit road. Scheduled to have a big contingent of Carrera Cup cars here this weekend at Portimao, 36 I'm told. And then when we get to Challenge, we're going to have probably around about 20 or so cars. So we're looking north of 55 cars in total here this weekend. And that's been a big, big logistical challenge for the team to get things going. And wonderful to see the drone shot overlooking the pit lane as drivers are getting very much ready to go out for their qualifying session. As Bruno Campos' car being wheeled into the pit lane, we are waving the green flag. So here we go for the Carrera Sport Division. So Roman Simkovic is the first driver, along with Seba Manlucelli. Silvio Moristoni, who showed some good prowess, especially here this time last year. Christian Moore, Rajan Mascarello, Leonardo Herman, Josimar Jr., amongst others. So this is also going to be a rapid 14 or so minutes here in this qualifying session. So the lap time to beat at the minute set by 16-year-old Pipo Massa in the number 19 is a 1:47.140. Of course, then we get to the Carrera division itself. Of course, two winners. Race 1 at Le Mans, Jeff Giassi, the sim racer turned Porsche coach and also driver as well. And then Pietro Fantin that also took the second race win of the weekend. And also one of the things here in qualifying, track position is crucial. You want to be up to speed early, trying to get those Michelin tyres up to temperature. Some of the drivers that have already made their way out of pit lane, Inu Perez and Peter Fechter yet to come out of pit lane. Well, Perez has just done so. So in terms of the Carrera Sport rankings, it's the Triple Eight of Perez that leads the way on 63 points, with Israel Salman and Seba Malucelli both tied on 54 apiece. Francisco Horta and Alceo Feldman rounding out the top 5 in the standings on 49 and 36 points apiece, respectively. Rajan Mascarello, Rodrigo Melo, Carlos Campos, Josima Jr. and Leonardo Haman round out the top 10 in the Carrera Sport rankings. Also, the drivers in Carrera Sport and Carrera Rookie do pick up points towards the overall standings, which I'll go through when we have the top division out on track. Seba Malucelli in the number 31. Going through Torrevip at turn 5. Then it's a short run up the hill through the left-hand kink here at 6. And then through the right-hander that leads to turn 8 at Samsung. It's a wonderful blend of technicality and then down the hill. This is where you've got full commitment on the accelerator, accelerating uphill through turn 9 at Craig Jones. It's a left-hander and then instantly it's a double right. One that's open, one that is a bit more closed. As oh, bit of a wobble down the hill through out of Portimao at turn 11. And that was the car behind Seba Malucelli. That might be Israel Salman in the number 51. That car had a bit of a tank slapper coming out of turn 11. So the first benchmark times are coming in, and there's a bit of a disparity between where the finish line is and then where the start line is. It's about 260 or so meters between the pair, normally during race conditions, but Seba Malucelli, first driver to put in a lap time with a 1 minute 51.160. Carlos Campos in the number 14. Currently 8th in the standings on 26 points, level with the number 27 of Josima Jr. is currently P2. But that puts them 13th and 15th overall. Carlos Campos with a 152.282. Silvio Moristoni on a 152.869. So 1/3 of the 15-minute time qualifying session has been completed. But we could see that as the track evolves, as it rubbers in, the drivers are going to get a bit more grip. And it's only the top 10 overall, I might add, that will go through to the Carrera Cup pole position shootout. And now it's the turn of the number 56, Peter Fechter, that goes top in this session. That could quickly change because Malucelli's on a flyer, goes 5th. 1:48.361. The person currently sitting third in the Carrera Sport rankings. And Seba Malucelli at the minute is currently 14th overall. Funnily enough, tied with Alceo Feldman on points when it comes to the overall classification, when it comes to the points for the Carrera side of things. Who else is on a flyer? Leonardo Herman. This could be a quick lap. Goes P3. Who else is following? Moristoni's on a flyer too. Moristoni goes quicker than Leonardo Herman. So Moristoni on a 1:47.684. Leonardo Herman in the number 23 goes fourth on a 1:47.876. So now already, drivers that are quite close to the drop zone at the minute are Marco Pisani and Flavio Sampaio. So Carlos Campos up to 11th, Roman Zimkiewicz up to 12th, ahead of Rajan Mascarello. Israel Salman currently 16th. It's going to change all the time. As Linel Perez goes up to 11th overall. 1:48.460 for the driver that currently leads the Carrera Sport rankings. And in the overall side of things, is currently 10th. As we hit half-time in the session. And you can just see the suspension rebound coming through Galp from Seba Malucelli's car. And is this going to be a quicker lap time? Looks to be the case. Goes across and goes second. 1:47.537 with 7.25 minutes to go. That was a brilliant lap there by Malucelli. As there is the number 29. So Mello doing a pretty good job at the minute, but needs to really start getting the hammer down here, and sits 23rd overall in the overall qualifying standings. It will now come across the stripe with just about 6.5 minutes to go. And improves, goes 16th overall. But still, there is time to be found around this circuit. And the big question is, who's going to find it and at what points on the track? That's the crucial point here, because now we're seeing that out of the 13 Carrera rookies that have come into qualifying, with just over 5.5 minutes to go, there are only 4 drivers from that division that currently sits in the top 10. So it's a 60-40 split between Carrera Sport and Carrera Rookie. Pipo Massa's lap, again, just showcases how capable that young man is. And as they say, the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree in the Massa family. Same could be said with father and daughter combination, Augusto and Victoria Farfus, for instance. So let's see, is there going to be any improvements by anybody? Well, Rodrigo Mello across the line. Oh, that's second. Just under 2.5 tenths. And now Bruno Campos finds himself down in 13th and is now basically eliminated from the top 10 shootout. Roman Zimkiewicz and also Peter Feita, they've also got to do some work here. So the number 88 and the number 80 and the number 56, they've got to find some time now. And the sooner rather than later, because time is fast running out. But what a lap time by Rodrigo Mello. A 1 minute 47.404. That was just 0.26 of a second slower than Felipe Massa, than Pipo Massa. Sorry, that's the first time I've done that. Hopefully that will be the last time. When you look at number 19 and you think of Massa, you think of Stock Car Pro. Sorry, that's just old habits die hard, don't they? But at the moment, in the top 10, it is Pipo Massa, Rodrigo Melo, Seba Malucelli, Leonardo Herman up to 4th now, Jose Moreneto, Israel Salman, Silvio Moristoni, Josimar Jr., Christian Moore in the number 3 car, now up to 9th, and Marco Billy rounding out the top 10. And there is the 888, Lineo Perez needs to really start getting some time found here at the circuit, because Perez at the minute, looking at the lap times, he's just 1 point. His best effort is a 1 minute 48.204. Just over 2 minutes and 50 left to go on the timer. He needs to find north of 0.23 of a second. And that is going to be quite crucial. That, well, let's say, call it quarter of a second, he really needs to find and get himself safe. Carlos Campos does improve. What about Lineo Perez? Currently sits 13th, so there is an improvement. Goes up to 13th overall. Might have an opportunity of 2 more laps to get the chance to stay in the top 10 shootout. But then we've got some of the big chargers. We'll have the man who's secured quite a few titles, Marcel Muller. We'll have Jeff Giassi, Tiago Vivacqua, Matteo Scoparato, who took part in Porsche Sprint Challenge Southern Europe and was also part of the Porsche Junior driver shootout late last year. Roman Simkovic has gone up to P11 and is 41 thousandths off of being in the top 10. That's how close it is. But Marco Billy is very close of being eliminated from the top 10 shootout as we head into the final minute and 20 seconds. There's Josimar Jr. now making his way round the circuit. His best lap so far has been a 1:47.781. Silvio Moristoni crosses the line. Might be gearing up for a final attempt. Let's see, does Josimar Jr. come through? Gal at high speed. He looks like he's peeling into pit lane. Now, if he thinks he's done enough, he might have. But all of the top 5, well, the top 4 drivers in Carrera Sport. Here is Roman Simkovic, has an opportunity to get up the order, is pushing 10 tenths and then some through into turn 11 out of Portimao. Comes the number 80. Hasn't improved on either first, well, he's down by quite a considerable amount. As there is Rodrigo Melo's car being pushed back into the garage. I don't think there's not going to be enough time for Simkovic to put in another lap, and that will mean the number 80 will not take part in the, well, let's just see, comes through Gal and is going to decide that's it as the flag is out. 15 minutes to rut. Some drivers now trying to go across the line, and Christian Moore, a little bit of a wave there from Rodrigo Melo. He'll be happy with that lap time. Puts him P2. And there's the number 22 car, Rajan Mascarello. As through goes number 2, Silvio Moristoni. How can he improve? Let's see. Across the line as the checkered flag waves and stays 7th on that lap. Fractionally slower than his best effort of a 1:47 6.84, but keeps him in the top 10 shootout at this moment. So, drivers from Carrera Sport not progressing to the top 10 shootout. Roman Simkovic, Lineo Pires. That's a big development with regards to the Carrera Sport side of things. Along with that, Carlos Campos, Rajan Mascarello, and Peter Bater will not make it through to the top 10 shootout. Neither will the following rookie drivers. Marco Billy got demoted. So the only two rookie drivers in the top 10 shootout at this moment in time are Pipo Massa and Jose Moranento, first and third in the rookie classification when it comes to the points. So advancing to the top 10 shootout before we have another set of cars. So I can hear some idling flat 6 4-litre boxer engines in that pit lane. Rodrigo Melo, Seba Malucelli, Lineo Pires made it through and went up to 4th overall, 3rd in Carrera Sport with a 1 minute 47.540. Leonardo Herman. And now here come the big guns, including the reigning and defending champion Miguel Paludo in the number 7. And I have to give a shout out to a couple of drivers who, funny enough, were at this circuit and they joined the Porsche Sprint Challenge Swiss Grid, currently running now in International GT Open. Shout out to Nelson Monteiro, who was last year's Masters champion, and Nelson Mangondes, who has also, between them, over a decade and a half of experience in this series. They still are racing in Porsches, but it's in the GT Cup Europe, which is part and parcel of the International GT Open. There we see the number 45, Jose Moranento, in the Motogrid Brasil liveried car. 6th overall in the top 10 as things stand, but we have one more session to go, one more 15-minute session here at Portimao to decide who will be going through to the 10-minute top 10 shootout. And that is another car that we've got to keep an eye out for. Pipo Massa, great job by the young 16-year-old. Lineo Pires dodged a bullet, and that bullet in the gun was his last lap in that 15-minute qualifying session. So, after everything was said and done, the flags flapping in the breeze on the right-hand side of the start-finish straight here at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve. For those wondering, what is the calendar looking like for the rest of the season? Well, we're going to be here for the first of 3 rounds of the Porsche Endurance Challenge Brasil for 2026. Next weekend, and then it's back to Interlagos for Stage 7 between the 5th and the 6th of September at the Autódromo José Carlos Parte at Interlagos. Then we go to the second round of the Endurance Challenge Brasil to Goiânia on the 3rd of October. And then the following weekend will be the rescheduled Stage 3, also at Goiânia, 10th and 11th of October. The penultimate stage, Stage 9, will be held at the Autódromo José Carlos Parte in Interlagos in the suburbs of Sao Paulo on the 7th and the 8th of November. And then, of course, one of my favourite events when it comes to Porsche motorsport racing, 500 kilometres of endurance at Interlagos, and that takes place on the 28th of November. Don't forget, folks, if you haven't already, please make sure you like, share and subscribe, because also the fact is every single round will be broadcasted live here on the Porsche Cup Brasil YouTube channel every single time we go racing. Make sure you hit that notification bell whilst you're at it. So a total of 35 992.1 generation Carrera Cup cars are here. 35 of them, as the last 10 go out for their session. Marcel Müller, the 5-time champion in the 544 car, is the first one to go out of the pit lane, followed by Miguel Mariotti. Then you've got the likes of Jeff Giassi, the current series leader on 124 points. Miguel Paludo, the current Carrera Cup champion, number 7 car. He rounds out the top 3 in the standings. And then there's a bit of a gap between him and the number 10 of Tiago Vivacqua. Lucas Salles in 5th, Antonella Bassani, just 20 years of age. And she's really started to show how strong she is. Obviously, one of the big mentors in that young lady's career is Bia Figueiredo, who's been in Brazilian motorsport and is part of the team that helps guide her moving forward. Matheus Comparato rounds out the top 7 overall ahead of Pietro Fantin in the number 117. So we're going to see some really close lap times in this qualifying session. Who is going to make it through to the top 10 shootout here at the Algarve at Portimao? As the traditional Farben bright yellow colours adorning the Farben Patras 544. Marcel Müller, not up to full speed yet, is trying to get those Michelin Cup Sport tyres up to temperature. He has got plenty of experience. There is the number 21 car, Miguel Mariotti. Good to see him putting in some strong performances. And of course, there is still a long way to go in this championship season. Of course, quite recently, another member of the Porsche Endurance Challenge Brazil family, a teammate to Marcel Müller, the man who is the youngest ever Stock Car Pro Series and, well, Stock Car Pro Series champion, and also now a 2-time series champion, courtesy of last season. Happy birthday for earlier on this week, Felipe Fraga. So now we get up to speed. Marcel Müller is going to now go on a full push lap as he goes over the crest into the right-hander here at Primera. Turn 1, very deceptive in these first 3 corners. They've got to watch out for the sausage curves. I've seen it, unfortunately, unsettle a few Porsches over the last couple of seasons. Pietro Fantin deciding to opt for a little bit of discretion, mainly because of the fact that 117 car is still in pit lane. As the leading pack heads its way into the hard braking zone for the tight left-hand hairpin at Torreville. Lucas Salles now across the line into Primera. Again, another striking livery on these cars as they make their way through. Salles currently P5 in the standings overall, 93 points to his credit. So the sector times are not quite reflective of what we would see from a lot of the well, basically what we've not seen. We're about sort of, you know, if you look at Pipo Massa's lap time, his best lap time, his best sector was a 33.627 in the opening sector. Marcel Müller currently about 5 seconds off. Near as you can probably point. So, and there is the Brandt Racing number 7 car, Miguel Paludo. He's making his way down the circuit. It's a really wonderful track here at Portimao. As Miguel Paludo now comes through turn number 15 down the hill. Car hunkers down on those Michelin tyres as he throws it through that sweeping right-hander over the crest and then across the line. So Marcos Regueras is the first one to put a proper sort of flyer in. 151.082. And there is the number 17 car, Marcos Regueras, in that wonderful gold and green livery, number 17. Currently 9th in the standings on 69 points. Makes his way hard on the brakes. Turns it left into Torreville. Now, a lot of drivers were finding that in the official pre-practice sessions yesterday that track limits were being policed. Turn 15 at Galp was one, especially coming out of it. So you can carry a lot of speed through the corner, but you've just got to be very, very mindful. I think turn 1 at Primera and turn 4, that was the left-hander after Lagos, was also showing that track limits were being checked over by the race control team. But 8.5 minutes left to go. Jeff Giassi, the 29-year-old, winner of race 1 at Le Mans, goes P8. Now, who else is going to find their way into this equation? Mateus Comparato, the 118 has crossed the line and he's gone 4th overall on a 147.553. Antonella Bassani, the number 72, the 20-year-old, she's gone 13th overall. And Marcos Regueras into the top 16. We haven't really seen the outright pace, I think, from Marcel Muller. I think he's just really trying to be in a good place with those Michelin Cup Sport tyres adorning the 544. So don't be at all surprised if we see that man battle for pole position along with this man here, Miguel Paludo. As he comes, fires his way out of Torreville, up the hill, through the left-hand jig, here at turn number 6. Then it's slight descent through turn 7. Hard on the brakes into the right-hander here at Samsung at turn 8. Now it's back uphill, and get yourself ready for the roller coaster. Paludo, the back end, switching from left to right as it tries to break traction as he gets through the compression shot, the compression downhill then uphill through Craig Jones, and then makes it through, but there's a little bit skittish on the back end there from Paludo. I don't think he's completely 100% comfortable with the handling at the rear end. Of course, these cars, rear end engined, rear wheel drive, 6-speed gearbox, operated by the paddle shifts. Now, I've had the opportunity to have a passenger ride, and as I say that, Marcel Muller on cue, top the time sheets. Mateus Comparato P2, and here goes Thiago Vivacqua P2 there. So that has now put Jose Murinenito on notice as Jeff Giassi P5, Antonella Bassani now P6 at the minute. So, and it's changing all the time as Lucas Sales has gone through. Jose Murinenito has just been eliminated from the top 10 shootout. So Pipo Massa currently sitting in 6th position, but it's this man here, Marcel Muller, 146.728 by the 544. Fabian Patras, Porsche Carrera Cup, GT3 Cup car, is now quickest of anybody. The top 3 rounded out by Mateus Comparato, the 118, coming by less than a 1/10.5. So the 5.5 minutes remain in the session. Marcel Muller, well, he's just set his fastest opening sector of the session. Sector 2 wasn't as great. Looks like the middle sector's getting a little bit skittish for a lot of drivers. Personal best for Vivacqua in Sector 1. Comparato, I think, yeah, Comparato's failing on this lap. So maybe just to give a little bit of a breather for the Michelin Cup Sport tyres As here comes Marcel Muller down through Galp. Can he improve? Ideal lap for him would be a 46.568. He goes across the line. And that is going to be not be an improvement. What about Thiago Vivacqua? That looks to be a little bit quicker. And across the line he goes. Takes provisional pole by 17 thousandths of a second. The number 10, currently sitting fourth on 95 points in the overall standings, has just stolen pole. So Marcel Muller, Matheus Comparato, well, Comparato's in the pits. So is Lucas Salles. They may be saving a little bit of energy, ready for the top 10 shootout. But Pipo Massa is currently P8. And it's, well, who's just outside of the drop zone? It's Miguel Paludo, the current defending champion, in the number 7 car. And let's see, what's Vivacqua doing? Okay, opening sector, half a second down. 4 minutes to go. Never say never in this game. Marcel Muller has responded with his best overall middle sector of the session. It's about a 10.5 down in the opening sector. So Marcel Muller feels that there is life left in the tyres shod on the number 544 car. Can he improve? Because he's through sector 3 at the moment. So can Marcel Muller improve and retake the top spot going into the top 10 shootout? Because then we reset the ledger and it's that 10 minutes that's going to make all the difference. Marcel Muller unable to improve at the moment. The main focus will be on the 10-minute session coming up. So there's 3 minutes left to go. Miguel Mariotti goes up into P8. Oh, that was Pipo Massa has got a little bit of breathing room because between him and Miguel Paludo, the gap is 2 tenths. Now at the moment, Marcos Regadas is still out. Thiago Vivacqua still out. So Regadas, ideal lap time for him would be a 46.9 as the Fabio Patrus 544 car. Marcel Muller, I think there's a good little strategy he's playing here, and it's more to the point of find out where the evolution of the grip is at on the circuit, and sometimes you can get yourself ready and primed for that top 10 shootout. It's going to be 10 minutes, but that 10 minutes is the difference between securing pole or being on the outside of the front row. But the gap between Vivacqua and Muller is 17 thousandths. Muller does not need to pressurize the issue. I think he's going to probably decide to pit this lap because he did a 35.3, high 35.3. Yeah, I think, yeah, he's going to bring that car into the pit lane. I think he realises that with 90 seconds to go, it's not worth risking it because any over driving of the car, especially coming out of Galp, and I've seen it before where drivers have gone backwards into the barriers. Yeah, look at this. It's just a casual drive over the line, and I think this is good gathering of information, I feel, for Marcel Muller. Miguel Paludo, though, however, Marcos Regadas is 9 1,000 slower than this man here. Now, the key point, with about 3/4 of a minute left to go, does Regadas have enough in the final lap? I don't think he will. With the high 33.7 in the opening sector, I think Regadas is going to be out of the top 10 shootout by the slimmest of margins. Probably the length of the front splitter on the bumper of Miguel Paludo's car. 9 1,000ths. That is how close things are right now. So we hit 0 on the timer. Yeah, Regadas is not going to make it through. So Miguel Paludo will be the last of the 10 drivers to go through to the top 10 Carrera Cup pole position shootout here for stage 5. He's still pushing like it's the full-on quali lap. He did a 34.0, and I think really he might be told by the team saying, don't risk it, you're through. As there is Marcos Regadas, as Marcel Müller will cross the line, take the checkered. Thiago Vivacqua has pitted the car. Miguel Paludo now coming through turn 12. So with the session at an end, that is all 3 group stages of the qualifying for the Carrera Cup divisions here at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve in Portugal. Here for the summer vacay, if you will, for Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, powered by C6 Bank. So going through to the top 10 shootout will be Thiago Vivacqua, Marcel Müller, Matteo Scoparato, Luca Sales, Antonella Bassani, Jeff Giassi, Pietro Fantin, and we got Miguel Mariotti. He's going to be probably a little bit disappointed, but he knows that he's got to put it all on the line. The sole Carrera rookie driver that made it through in 9th overall, Pipo Massa, and Miguel Paludo, the defending champion, in the top 10 shootout. And there we go. The number 10 car. There you see a 30 kilo ballast on the number 10 car. Try and equalise it based on race performance over the course of the season, as we are set and ready for our first of 2 top 10 shootouts. There you can see the significant breeze around about 8 kph. But it is a wonderful modern day facility. There's Antonella Bassani. She's definitely one of the young upcoming female talents within Brazilian motorsport. Deep in discussion with her race engineer. Probably talking about, just looking by the way that Antonella was gesticulating to her engineer there, just to say what she feels the car is doing and what she probably might want change in terms of setup, maybe at the rear end of the car. But Thiago Vivacqua, the fastest overall driver out of 35, and now the top 10 will go through into the shootout. And it's going to be quite hot in those cars as well. There has been a big old heat wave hitting continental Europe. And I was in Imola last weekend at the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari. We had air temperature 43 degrees. It was over 61 degrees in the cockpit for the drivers. So we're probably talking about 50 to 53 degrees centigrade cockpit temperature here in the cars. So the drivers having to keep themselves hydrated. So and this is the relationship between engineer and driver. So for those wondering where is the boost button on the steering wheel, it's the yellow button on the top right with MRK. Once they do that, that will give these drivers an additional 30 horsepower. Effectively a bit like a push to pass, if you will. like in Stock Car Pro Series. But cars are getting prepped and ready. Some cars being left out of the garage. You know, it's quite hot here. You can see how abrasive the Algarve sun can be. Oh, a little bit of wildlife as we have a little look back as what has happened so far. And of course, with the Carrera Cup side of things, Carrera rookie got things going. And it would end up being Pipo Massa that would really start to once again show why he is the talk of the town in Carrera rookie. His first full season in car racing, guided and assisted by his father, ex-Ferrari and Ferrari Formula One driver. Also, in the latter stages of his career, raced for Williams Martini Racing. Also, at one point, was the CIK FIA president when it came to karting as well. Several drivers showcasing what they were capable of, including the number 33 of Bruno Campos, the number 99 of Wagner Pontes, who hasn't had probably the season that he would like. Currently running 7th in the series overall in Carrera rookie. Still trying to get off the board in terms of the overall championship standings. Sitting 39th out of 41 drivers that have competed so far in the C6 Bank Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil season. But what can you say about this young man? Pipo Massa, 16 years of age, and once again showcases why he is a talent that we need to keep our eyes on. And especially when you look at one of the other big Brazilian motorsport families, when it comes to the Barrichellos, of course, alongside Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil. Muito parabéns to Dudu Barrichello with the Heart of Racing team, getting 3rd overall at the 24 Hours of Le Mans with Dan Rubinho alongside him. And of course, if anyone might remember, well, Fefu, Rubens' youngest son, currently running with AIX Racing in FIA Formula 3, and the trio were reunited at the 500 kilometers of Interlagos when myself and Jake Sanson had the wonderful opportunity to see the father and son team, Fefu and Rubinho in the car, Dudu as driver coach. So that's one of the beautiful things that you can see when the families in Brazilian motorsport always are helping each other. But also some good performances being showcased around the circuit here at Portimao, as we are getting set and ready very shortly for the top 10 shootout for Carrera Cup. This will be their 4th round, effectively, even though that we are at stage 5, but that's mainly because of the rescheduled stage 3 in Goiânia. Jose Moreneto would manage to be a driver that, along with Pipo Massa, showcased good qualifying pace overall, and even with the fact of going into the Carrera Cup side of things, he would be at the sharp end. And then it was the turn of the Carrera Sport Division, the likes of Israel Salman going out there, but it is time for the top 10 shootout. Air and track temperature have hardly changed. 30.6 degrees air temp, 40.2 degrees track temp, humidity 28%. And there you see the Algarve coastline. What a wonderful place to not only just go and have a wonderful holiday, but also a wonderful countryside. It's been a place I've had the opportunity to visit over the years, not just within the world of racing, both karting and in sports cars, but also family holidays around the Algarve. As we are under green flag conditions, it's time for the top 10 shootout for stage 5 for Carrera Cup Brasil for 2026. So your competitors will be Miguel Paludo, Thiago Vivacqua, Pipo Massa, the only driver from Carrera Cup rookie that has made it through to this stage, Miguel Mariotti, Lucas Sales, Antonello Bassani, Jeff Giassi, Pietro Fantin, Matheus Comparato, and the 5-time champion, 544, Marcel Müller, who now exits pit road. The pressure is really on for the drivers at hand here at this circuit. And for those wondering, we will be live later on today for race 1 for both Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge. As Matheus Comparato now leaves pit lane, it's about these first couple of crucial opening laps. Now, because of the fact there might have been a little bit of a breather in between the qualifying for Carrera and the top 10, yeah, there might be a 5-minute interval or so. But the tyres, if they're brand new, they're going to have that layer of bitumen that the drivers need to scrub away, and also to get the steel brakes, the vented steel brake discs and the competition brake pads up to temperature. And through heating, the carcass of the tyre that will permeate through the very specific race spec wheels that these cars have with the centre locking nut on them. They'll permeate through the alloy wheels, and then that surrounding heat is then going to put the temperature on the brake pads as well, along with the discs. So it's going to be an interesting one, bearing in mind how close the top 10 were going through into this stage of qualifying here at Portimao. But it's all about who can put the lap time down earliest and strike that first bit of a psychological advantage. 3 minutes down, 7 to go. So as we proceed along our course here in the 2026 C6 Bank Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil here at Portimao, it's anyone's guess. I could not even predict who is going to be the person that is going to put it on pole for race number 1 here later on this afternoon. Race will start local time here in the United Kingdom. Thank goodness for the fact that Portugal is also on the same time zone. And the race will start itself later on today, and that will be at 2:30 local time. So Marcel Müller makes his way up the hill through turn 9 at Craig Jones, as Miguel Mariotti is the first one to put down a lap time in the number 21 at 1:51.384. Now, with the evolution of the track itself, I would factor in that whoever has got the best cycle phase, now it normally takes up to 3 push laps to fire these tyres up. How do I know that? Well, last year at Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, I had the opportunity, courtesy of good friend and race driver Rod Christie, and also the team at Dynamic GT, to have a passenger ride at Misano, and he went through the full heat cycle. So you're probably talking towards maybe the latter part of this session where the drivers will get that car through that window of operation. So Lucas Sales has now responded and has gone top. At the minute, Matteo Scomparato, Pietro Fantin, Pipo Massa ran out the top 5. Antonello Bassani currently sits P6 at the moment, ahead of Marcel Muller, Jeff Giassi, Miguel Paluda, and Thiago Vivacqua. The more established drivers will have a bit more of an understanding of these tyres. But that's not to take anything away from Pipo Massa, far from it. And look at the commitment from Marcel Muller. Up the hill, down through into turn 9, Jeff Giassi. Now that looks to be a quick lap, he goes top. Who else is going to be there? What about Miguel Mariotti? That looks to be a quick lap as well, he goes second. But Pietro Fantin, oh, straight in on lap 2 in qualifying, the 1:17, puts in a 1:46.805 with just under 3 minutes and 40 to go. And then, oh, Pipo Massa has responded. 1:47.395 by the number 19. Here comes Lucas Sales. Can this be an improvement for the number 70? Goes pole, provisional. 1:46.578. So what's going to happen here? Where's Marcel Muller going to factor in? He's currently, he's dropped to 6th place because Pietro Fantin has got up to 3rd, drops Pipo Massa down to 4th. Thiago Vivacqua now down into 5th. Here's the 21 with that bright green and black car, Miguel Mariotti. As across the line goes Matteo Scomparato, goes P4. But it's Miguel Paludo. Paludo was holding a little bit back in reserve. Well played indeed. Goes in with a 1:46.472. As number 97, Jeff Giassi on the boost. You can tell by the headlights flashing at rapid intervals. He goes across the line. Does he improve? He stays 3rd for the minute. But there could be, right, well, Miguel, okay, so now Miguel Mariotti now moves up to P3 in the meantime, and he's instantly pipped by Lucas Sales. We've got a real fight on our hands. Marcel Muller is now, right, headlights are on, that means boost is engaged for the Fabian Patras 544. Down the hill he comes. Marcel Muller. This could be a good lap time. It could put him in the top 5. Let's see. Comes out at the final corner. Marcel Muller. Where does this put him? This could be good enough maybe for 3rd. It puts him 2nd. And Thiago Vivacqua's gone top. He also had the same tactic. The number 10, Thiago Vivacqua, goes top of the timesheets by 81 thousandths of a second on a 1:46.252. And it's just over 0.11 between Vivacqua, Fantin and Muller as we're into the final minute. And it's looking to be a tough one here for Jeff Giassi in the number 97 car. Also Antonello Bassani struggling a little bit. Pipo Massa's just done a personal best in the opening sector. Giassi's going to have one more bite of the cherry as he comes out of turn 15 at Galp. Bassani's not that far behind, but Thiago Vivacqua, what a lap time from the number 10. So Pietro Fantin out of Galp. He's going to just about make it through for another lap in qualifying. He's going to be at full speed, so he's got to go for it. Can he pit Thiago Vivacqua for pole position here for race 1? How's Marcel Muller doing? Not improving on the opening and middle sectors. The checkered flag is out for the session. Jeff Giassi, personal best in the opening sector. Same for Miguel Mariotti, same for Antonella Bassani. They are all improving, but is it going to be enough? It might be a little bit wet. They're probably, all three of them, are the best part of nearly 0.2 of a second off of Thiago Vivacqua. As Vivacqua crosses the line, 1:46.445. Has he done enough for pole position? Marcel Muller has pitted. Lucas Sales has pitted. There's the 1:17. Pietro Fantin, he's way off in the opening sector. He will not get through, he will not take pole position. So Matheus Comparato, 8th place. Jeff Giassi, fractionally off of his best time in the middle sector. Same for Antonella Bassani. Pipo Massa's no way near going to be any higher than 10th. I think he's just going to bring it home to the pit lane because the session is over. Miguel Mariotti goes across the line and puts it 6th. And it, middle sector, about a 10th down, as Jeff Giassi will come across the line very shortly. There's the number 10. And that man there, Thiago Vivacqua, has done an absolutely outstanding job, but it was nip and tuck between the top 3 for the top 10 shootout here in Carrera Cup for stage 5 of the season. So muito parabéns, Thiago Vivacqua in the number 10 car, who's just going to roll it nice and easy at a crawl, coming out of Galp, and is going to turn it right hand down into pit road. And Vivacqua takes pole for race 1, stage 5 here at Portimao. Great job. And that was ahead of Pietro Fantin, taking 2nd position. Fantin, 81 thousandths off of that pole. Probably a little bit disgruntled, but you can understand why. Marcel Muller, well, you can never count that man out, but look, Thiago Vivacqua gets the congratulations from the team. He's going to be a happy bunny, this man here. Vivacqua takes pole here at stage 5 in the Algarve. So Thiago Vivacqua, fantastic job as he takes pole by 81 thousandths of a second. Ahead of Pietro Fantin, Marcel Muller rounding out the top 3 ahead of Miguel Paludo, the defending champion, in 4th. Lucas Sales, Miguel Mariotti, Jeff Giassi, Matheus Comparato, and Antonella Bassani rounding out the top 9. As Chris Diaz goes in to have a chat with Thiago Vivacqua, having secured pole, but still, nevertheless, I'm really, really impressed with Pipo Massa. P10 and taking effectively Carrera rookie pole position. So that concludes the qualifying for Carrera, well, Carrera Cup. That'll be the first of our 2 races later on today. As we turn our attention and welcome back to competition, the sprint challenge side of things. So Carrera Cup will be in action at 2:30 local time here in the Algarve, 2:30 p.m. As Thiago Vivacqua, all smiles, thumbs up to the official photographers and the media covering. So the pole position, piston trophy, Mobile 1 trophy goes the way of Thiago Vivacqua. What a job by the number 10. So, with qualifying being completed, yeah, but a couple of struggles, I think, for Jeff Giassi, Antonella Bassani finishing 7th and 9th in the top 10 shootout. But the roar of flat six boxer engine power is starting to rumble very shortly in the pit lane, because up next, Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil returns for their third round of the championship season here in 2026. You're going to have Challenge Rookie, Challenge Sport, and the overall side of things when it comes to Challenge itself. And some very interesting developing battles, storylines over the course of the season so far. Of course, they were not with us at Le Mans 3 weeks ago, but the last time we did see them in action was at the Autódromo Velocità at Mogi Guaçu back in late the last weekend of March this year. But as you can see, not a cloud, well, hardly any clouds in the sky. I could say not a cloud in the sky, but there's a little bit of light white clouding surrounding the area, but still, at least for a lot of these drivers, they can now have a little bit of a respite, debrief, do the data with the engineers, get the cars ready for this afternoon's opening race. Both races for Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge will be 25 minutes plus an additional lap. But when you think about it, Pietro Fantin 81 thousandths away from a pole position here at the circuit in the Algarve. We're just having a look at some of the highlights here in qualifying. And Thiago Vivacqua doing the number on everybody else. His number was definitely a lucky one here in the sunshine this morning at the Algarve, as we are just fast approaching 11 AM local time here in the Algarve, here in Portugal. And of course the Paddock Club, located in the ground floor, just actually on the same level as the pit garages. That wind speed is around about 7.9, well, about 8 kilometers an hour, which is about 5 miles an hour. So sometimes the drivers will be going to a bit of a headwind, sometimes they'll have a little bit of a tailwind, depending on which part of the circuit you go on. So we now turn our attention away from Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, and we go back to Sprint Challenge Brasil for their third race weekend of the season, having started off at the Autódromo José Carlos Pachi in Interlagos, and then Autódromo Velocità in Mogi Guaçu back in the last weekend of March. And first of all, we turn our attention to what is going to be the case of the challenge class. So first up will be the challenge rookie. Well, apparently, according to this, we're going to be, we are going to be going into the challenge rookie side of things. Claudio Simayo currently leading the standings on 54 points, ahead of Lucas Castellani. Rafael Bernandez rounds out the top three. Simayo looks to be not here this weekend. Some of the drivers not always able to come over to the Algarve, as there you see the windmills in the background amidst the undulating countryside hills here in this locality of the world. So we're going to have 10 cars in total, and that will include the likes of Gabriel Sestari, Ricardo Silverman, Lucas Castellani, Rafael Bernandez, Denis Ferra, Aldo Umbellino, Marcelo Bentivoglio, Dilson Perez Jr. Dilson Perez Jr. currently sitting 7th in the standings as well. We'll have Cecilia Rabello in action a little bit later on. She'll be competing in the Challenge Sport division, which will run at the same time. She's currently leading the Challenge Sport division by 20 points. Ahead of Neto Hale in the 331, with Marco Mascari in the number 15, rounding out the top three in that division with the likes of Enrico Pedrosa, but Claudius Simayo showing in both the rookie and I think has now migrated to Challenge Sport, so currently sitting 5th in the standings. So 9 of the 10 cars, so these particular vehicles are the previous generation to the Carrera Cup cars, so 991.2, pushing at around about 485 brake horsepower, slightly lower top speed, 0.1 of a second differential going from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. But the qualifying session very much underway. Dilson Perez Jr. leading the field around this fantastic circuit. As we see, cars 104. That's Charles Gruneberg, currently sitting at the minute P5 in the Challenge Rookie side of things, and is currently P16, tied on points in the overall Challenge classification, tied with Aldo Umbellino in the 222. But very soon we'll get the initial benchmarks coming in. And there is Umbellino in the KTR Group liveried car. Very interesting shade, looks to be a little bit rose gold on the car, along with the bright cyan blue and black accents to the livery. Now hard on the brakes into turn 5 at Torre Vip. But still has the opportunity to put down a benchmark time. But Dilson Perez Jr. is going to be the first one to do so. He's coming through sector number 3 with just over 11 minutes on the timer left to go. So Dilson Perez Jr. will shortly cross the line and sets a 1 minute 56.588. A couple of other drivers starting to come through. Rafael Bernardez, Charles Gruneberg. Also looking at the likes of Castellani and Valverde. And looks like Adriano Valverde in the number 7 car now sets the initial benchmark after 1 lap. Tyres and brakes still getting warmed, but Valverde sets the opening lap time benchmark, that is. 1:53.970, 86 thousandths quicker than Castellani. Ricardo Zilberman is in the number 18 car, is going to be last driver to cross the line, currently making his way through sector number 3 as we speak. Oh, and a big wobble there by the number 18 of Ricardo Zilberman. Now comes down the hill, out of Sagres, turn 14. Is he going to be fully committed? Yes, very tight to the apex entry at Galp. Through out of turn 15. Where does Zilberman put the car? It's going to be good enough, maybe for lower half of the of it as the number 18 goes across the line. Yep, gets into the second half of the top 10, puts it P7. But it could be changing all the time. Perez Jr. goes top. Oh, Bernardes has now just responded. Grunenberg now up into P2. It's going to change all the while because Valverde looks to be on a flyer. Goes up to second. But Rafael Bernardes on a 1:50.573. In free practice yesterday, we were seeing lap times of around about a 50.2. Cecilia Rebello was one of the quickest drivers out there overall. As 100 of Rafael Bernardes as the number 91 of Dilson Perez Jr. get through. That was at turn 6 after Torre Vip, as they're going to make their way through into turn 8 here at Samsung. Over the crest, down the hill. Let's see the commitment from Bernardes through into turn 9 at Craig Jones. Turns it left, up the hill, flat chat, full throttle for the number 91. Well held there. Nice, good, clean, consistent commitment. But at the moment, Bernardes, his middle sector is way off where it should be, probably to the best part of 3 seconds. As we are halfway through this session. As look at how tight Bernardes gets through. Now, is this going to be a possible improvement on lap time? Doesn't look to be the case. Yeah, that's going to be, yeah, for Bernardes, that's a 1:55.159. Valverde doing a really good job. Bentivoglio in the number 777 looks to be getting a bit quicker. Goes up to P2. But it looks like maybe that lap time has just been quickly deleted. Yeah, Bentivoglio went up to P2. Looks like lap time deleted due to track limits. So, not exactly what he would have wanted. And race control are being pretty hot on it. As soon as you make a mistake, you exceed track limits, that is it. That lap time is deleted. And as I said earlier on when we started broadcast, that track limits were very much being policed quite heavily. Turns 1, turn 4, and turn 15. So turn 1 being Primera, turn 15 being Galp. So it wasn't going to be an easy one here. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But with just over 5 1/4, well, just under 5.5 minutes left to go, Rafael Bernardes looking to improve, sets the overall fastest opening sector of anybody in this session so far, and goes quicker. 1:50.401 by the number 100. Anyone else looking to improve? Bentivoglio's just done the fastest middle sector of anybody at 35.386. So can Bentivoglio make his way up the order as Dilson Perez Jr. up to P2 in the number 91 as Bentivoglio has aborted that lap, it looks like, and has come into the pit lane as we're getting these wonderful aerial shots here with just 4.5 minutes to go. So Gabriel Cestari in the number 16 looks to have improved, does a personal best, holds on to 5th place at the moment with a 1 minute 51.958. Lucas Castellani in the number 23 currently holds on to 7th position on a 152.344. Who else is improving? Silverman in the number 18 car has just done a personal best in the opening and the middle sectors. There is Rafael Bernardes, and his opening sector this time around was a mid 35.1. Sector 2, well, he's not really pushing, to be honest with you. He's 2.1 seconds down on his personal best, and he's going to pull it into the pits. Well, I'm not at all surprised with the fact he's got a 1.3 second advantage ahead of Dilson Perez Jr. But there could be some improvements over the course of the session. So in the pits at the moment are Bernardes and Bentivoglio. I don't think Bentivoglio is going to be coming out for the rest of the session. Charles Gruneberg in the number 4 car, currently P6 at the minute. We've still got, after this, Challenge Sport going out. And there we go. Rafael Bernardes very happy with that result in the Carrera Rookie Division. His team that's surrounding him, very, very happy. A lot of congratulations to the man. Yep, number 1, he says, but with a lap time as great as that, as Adriano Valverde closes the gap, but it's only 1.25 seconds. It was 1.3, bang on the nose. Does Valverde have anything else in the tank? Castellani not improving, I'm afraid. Front end a little bit skittish as he tries to line it up under braking. You can see he's pushing. That car may be on the brink of a potential little bit of understeer. 35.3 in the opening sector, 35.8 in the middle sector. But a 10th and a bit off of his best effort in sector 2, 2.25 seconds nigh on off in the opening sector, but he's going to try and give it another go. He's got one more lap to see if he can get any higher. Crosses the line. That is a personal best for Castellani. But still, as the timer counts down, we've got 45 seconds on the clock. Valverde did an improvement. As we're going to see Dennis Ferrer in the number 121. He comes across the line 2 seconds down on his best lap time, but he's got one more opportunity. Gruneberg going through, Craig Jones at turn 9. Currently still sitting in P6 at the minute. Close on his relative sectors, 35.338 in the opening sector, 35.773 in sector 2. It's going to be close, but maybe probably anywhere between 2 tenths to half a second, maybe off, depending on how he negotiates. As the checkered flag is out for the session here for what is effectively challenge rookie Grunenberg down through Gal. As the front end nearly snapped on him there. It wanted to go one way, he wanted to go right, the car wanted to turn left, and it put him over the curbing, puts him across the line, and Grunenberg lost over a second in that final sector due to that that overrun on the curbing. As Dennis Ferrer exceeding the limits of adhesion on those Michelin Cup Sport tyres, and that's not a way you want to end your session. He might have been, well, Dennis Ferrer had just set the fastest middle sector of anybody. Oh, he could have put himself in the top 3. We're going to have a look at it. It's at Portimao. Might have just turned in a little bit early, carried a bit too much speed, and the back end rotates, and it puts him on the exit of the curbing, coming through turn number 11. That is a real shame for Dennis Ferrer, as the number 16, Gabriel Sestari, comes across the line, and, well, that was not a lap time to speak much of, because it wasn't anywhere near his best effort. But Rafael Bernardes takes the top time in the Challenge Rookie class qualifying session here at Portimao. So it's Bernardes from Valverde, Perez Jr. Dennis Ferrer with that unfortunate spin. It's what could have been for the 121 in that session. I think he could have, yeah, I mean, looking at it, 35.3 in the opening sector. He did the fastest overall middle sector of anybody in the session at 35.381. That was over a tenth quicker than Dilson Perez Jr.'s best efforts, and nearly 2 tenths quicker than the man that took the top time in the session, Bernardes. Bernardes' best effort was a 35.547. But you've got to be good, not just around one sector here in qualifying here at Portimao. You've got to be at your A game over all 3 sectors. And the way that Bernardes muscled the car around to get the fastest opening and final sector, well, what can you say? I think Dennis Ferrer, who finishes P4 in that session, is going to be kicking himself in the backside a little bit after that. But that's racing. That's qualifying. We are going to have a total of 21 Sprint Challenge cars here. The 991.2 generation Porsche Carrera Cup, the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. Because coming up in the next couple of minutes, so Bernardes takes the session ahead of Valverde, Perez Jr., Ferrer, Castellani, Sestari, Grunenberg, Bentivoglio, who could have been at the sharper end. And that's one good thing about having mechanics with you in the pit lane. Open the door, open it and close it, open it and close it, and get a little bit of ventilation for the drivers. So Grunenberg, Bentivoglio, Umbellino and Zilberman. Zilberman tried to do his best and finishes with the best effort. On his last lap, his 6th lap in qualifying, 155.075. But then we're going to see the likes of Daniel Neumann, Caio Castro, Saracleta, Gerson Campos, the man who Now, for those that have been following Porsche Cup Brasil's journey to race the world, there was also an opportunity by an online race where the top 40 would go and compete for an opportunity to join the Porsche Cup Brasil family at Le Mans. And Gerson Campos, also known as one of the faces of Acelerados, the motor show, the automotive show, hosted by Gerson Campos and his, well, apparently he's got a famous co-host, Rubens Barrichello.
Você acha bom segurar para a corrida pouquinho, colocar asa, pouquinho mais? Quanto que tá em casa?
And Edo Ubalino taking some advice, probably being told, you know what, let's just focus on the race for now. Forget qualifying, it's done and dusted. There's going to be a lot of discussion now. And you can see how hot it is. Ricardo Zilberman still got his balaclava on. Now finally takes it off, and there you go. As green flag waves, we're underway for the 15-minute time qualifying session for Challenge and Challenge Sport. Gerson Campos in the number 82 car leads the way overall on 89 points ahead of Will Cesar and Daniel Neumann, who is third in the standings, tied with current Challenge Sport leader Cecilia Rebello in the number 98. Enrico Pedrosa, Caio Castro, Marco Mascari, Claudio Simayo, Saracleta, Neto Hael will also be out in this session. So we have a total combined grid between Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge Brazil of 56 cars here this weekend. So this 15-minute session will then decide how the top 10 shootout will look. So there is Saracleta in the number 66 car. Always a hard charger is this man in qualifying. Now it heads through out of Primera at turn 1 out of 15. So, also some other drivers that have moved up from the Sprint Trophy side of things. In terms of the Sprint Trophy Sport last year, the champion was Gabriel Gupa, who now moves up into Sprint Challenge. So good to have Gabriel along with us. The number 3 car currently running P12 overall in the Challenge overall rankings and in the Challenge Sport. Currently sits 7th at the moment, 17 points to Gabriel's side of things. And Carlos Chavez was the Sprint Challenge winner, well, champion last year. There is the unmistakable bright livery of Cecilia Rebello, raced in Brazilian F4 with the likes of Cavaleiro Sports, amongst other teams, 2 seasons, and then has really made a name for herself. Could follow in the footsteps very well of Antonella Bassani into Carrera Cup in the years to come. And Daniel Neumann, last year's Sprint Challenge rookie champion in the number, at this particular moment, he's in the big, well, he's in the big class now up into Challenge itself. Currently sitting equal on points in the overall rankings with Cecilia Rebello on 73 points as the number 21. And straight away, let's have a look. Gerson Campos will cross the line very shortly, and he goes straight to the top of the timesheets. No surprise there for the number 82. Gerson Campos fires straight in with a 1:49.442. Daniel Neumann up to third place overall with a 1:51.524. Neto Heil was the Sprint Trophy Sport Champion back in 2024. Of course, Sprint Challenge that year, Miguel Mariotti was the overall champion. But we are nearly a third of the way through this session. Sadak Leita, the suspension on the back end of his car, the number 22, getting a little bit unsettled as he steers it right through Galp. Sadak Leita will very shortly cross the line. Well, no, that's not. Well, that's the number 22, Caio Castro, who crosses the line, puts in a 1:51.824. Sadak Leita up to 16th overall. Now, bearing in mind, the Enrico Pedrosa is going to be the last driver to set their first actual bona fide lap here in qualifying. And it's going to do so with 9 minutes and 10 seconds to spare. As well, it's going to change again. Daniel Neumann on a flyer here. Gerson Campos has set the fastest opening and middle sector. Neumann's gone fastest in the final sector, and has put in a 1:48.924. But Gerson Campos is responding. And it looks like Neumann's lap was deleted due to track limits. Gerson Campos, fastest overall in the first sector. 33.903 for the number 82. As Cecilia Rebello currently sitting P2 in Challenge Sport at the moment. 15th overall, a 1:54.577, not really reflective of the pace this young driver has either, but you know she can make the best of it. And improvement in the opening and middle sectors. She's now making her way out of turn 14 at Sagres. Down the hill, here comes the number 98 at a big rate of speed, turns it right, down the hill she goes. And Rebello over the crest on the start-finish straight towards the stripe she charges. Where's that going to put her? That is good enough at the moment for P8. And with half of the session left to run, well, at the minute, Rafael Bernardes and Adriano Valverde are still in with a shout of a top 10 shootout position. Gerson Campos is being hounded. Daniel Neumann has gone quick once again, and he's not the only one, because Neumann has split both Campos and Enrico Pedrosa as over through turn 8 to the outside and sweeping through turn 9. Here comes Caio Castro, fastest middle sector of anybody, 34.597 for the number 22 car, currently sitting P6 in the overall rankings and P4 in Challenge Sport. Castro looks to be on a flyer here. Now out of turn 14, and here comes the run. Can the 22 get towards the sharp end of the field as he goes through Galp? Tight on the white line goes Caio Castro. He comes out of the final corner. Castro will go P4, but instantly straight away, who goes quicker than him? Gabriel Gupa, the car, following in his wheel tracks, the number 3. Now goes 4th overall. That is Gerson Campos in the 82 car. There is Enrico Pedrosa with the very bright pink accents on the car. Wing mirrors, roof, and side skirts, front splitter, rear diffuser. Gerson Campos has decided, you know what, I'm safely through. I don't need to push the machinery. He'll probably be told by the team, look, Gerson, you've got the top 10 shootout place in the bag. There's no need to push it. And also with the cockpit temperatures being so high in these cars, there we see the number 21, Daniel Neumann, in the very, very nice deep blue and bright orange accented livery. Still trying to charge his way forward. His final sector wasn't exactly the best to speak of. Nearly 8 tenths down off of his best effort so far. So at the moment, in terms of the fastest sectors in this qualifying session with 4 minutes and 45 to go, Gerson Campos, fastest overall sector 1. Caio Castro in the number 22, fastest in the middle sector. And he's improved again. He's done a personal best in the opening sector as Castro, but at this particular point, he's just done a 40.410, puts him a 10th off of his best effort. Neumann now coming through sector 2, into sector 3. He's just negotiated turns 9, 10, and 11. So Craig Jones and Portimao through into turn 12 and 13, which comes back on itself. But Gabriel Gupa doing a really good job, and he has gone top of everybody. He's even beaten Gerson Campos to the top of the timesheets. But it's one step, then you've got to take another. So it's effectively when we reset everything for the top 10 shootout, everyone's lap times in the initial stages of qualifying. It's a bit like how Paula Abdul said, it's 2 steps forward, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back to get that 1 step forward, if you will. But Gabriel Gupa with the 1:48.691, lap times about anywhere between 1.1 to 1.4 seconds quicker than yesterday's official free practice session. Marco Mascari, in the meantime, is trying to move up the order and has had several lap times deleted. Up to 19th goes the number 15, and that lap time straight away being deleted. Here goes Caio Castro. Now that lap time is probably not going to factor in too well. His best effort, a 49.275. Cecilia Rebello still within the top 10. So is Neto Hael. So Daniel Neumann in the pit lane. So is Gerson Campos, Gabriel Gupa. Will Cesar in the number 134 is also in pit lane. So unfortunately, all of the challenge rookie drivers will not take part in the top 10 shootout, I'm afraid. A good effort nevertheless though by Rafael Bernardes, 150.401. He'll be very happy with that. As now new tyres go on the 82 of Gerson Campos. But he's still got a little bit of a wait to find out who is going to be joining him in the session. But He knows for a fact, okay, you get through this stage. You don't really want to push the envelope. You've got to have that mechanical sympathy, because these cars are not, a lot of these cars are not just going to be in competition this weekend, but they will be here for Endurance Challenge Brasil next weekend for what will be stage 6 of the C6 Bank Porsche Carrera Cup Brasil, Sprint Challenge Brasil, and of course Endurance Challenge Brasil, the 22nd season of the series, as Cecilia Rebello at the minute not quite improving. I think, well, she's got enough to get herself through. Of course, she did really well when we came to the Algarve last year, and I had the opportunity of commentating on qualifying that weekend. Still, with just under 10 seconds. Well, Marco Mascardi has made it up to 14th. Slightly off in the opening sector, slightly down in the middle sector. The final sector's got to count because the checkered flag is now going to be out. He and Caio Castro are the only drivers still out on the circuit. And Castro is about the best part of nearly a second on aggregate down on his best efforts in this qualifying session. Marco Mascardi is going to try and push to the limit right up until the checkered. Let's see how committed he is through Galp. Looks to be fairly committed to me. He's going to come out of the final corner and will take the checkered flag. So Nicholas Garfinkel in the number 10 car has also made it through. Cecilia Rebello crossed the line, and there she is, parked up. Now, one of the questions to those newcomers to Sprint Challenge and Carrera Cup across the world: if a GT3 RS road car has carbon ceramics, why do these cars have steel vented discs? The main reason being is, firstly, it's more accessible to people, and carbon ceramic discs, they do take quite a long time to make, whereas steel brakes are very much more available, as Cecilia Rebello's car now off the jacks with brand new Michelin tyres on all 4 corners for the number 98. So, heading through to the top 10 shootout for Sprint Challenge Brazil for their 3rd weekend of the season. It is going to be Gabriel Cooper, Gerson Campos, Daniel Neumann, Enrico Pedrosa, Sarah Gleiter, Caio Castro, Nicholas Garfinkel, Cecilia Rebello, Willis Cesar, and Neto Heil completes the top 10. And there you see Sarah Gleiter going over the end of the data with his engineer, who's got the laptop open. But Gabriel Cooper doing a stellar job with the number 3 car. But it's all about who wants it the most in that battle for pole position. Well, that was an air hose that went off for a very long time there in the pit lane. Someone just managed to... it nearly sounded like a kazoo in the pit lane there for a second. But that's just someone who might have just gotten a little bit overzealous with the airline. And with any part of the 35 Sprint Challenge and Carrera Cup championships across the world, the Porsche family is very much a big family. And of course, we are helping Porsche Motorsport in Weissach, just outside of Stuttgart, help to celebrate 75 years of Porsche Motorsport with the hashtag RaceBorn. And there you see down there the Mobile One Porsche 911 safety car. As some of the drivers filtering their way towards the end of the pit lane. It's time very shortly to get underway with our sprint challenge Brazil top 10 shootout, as the cars now have their doors shut. Drivers now focused on the task at hand. There you see the so Nicholas Garfinkel, 5 kilos of ballast. Cecilia Rebello, I noticed 25 kilos of additional ballast on the number 98. So the green flag waves at the end of pit lane for 10 minutes to decide who is going to be our pole sitter for the third weekend of competition in the 2026 C6 Bank Porsche Sprint Challenge Brasil here at the Autódromo Internacional do Algarve in Portimão in Portugal. So green flags circuit wide, and it's going to be the case of get the tyres up to temperature, scrape off that shiny bitumen based surface to get down to where the traction is really provided by the Michelin tyres that these 991.2 485 horsepower machines will be using as the contact patches around this particular 4.592 kilometer 15 turn circuit, which has hosted the Portuguese Grand Prix back in 2020 and 2021, the FIA World Endurance Championship 6 Hours of Portimão, the TCR World Tour, DTM back in 2022, the World Touring Car Championship Race of Portugal in 2010 and 2012, FIA GT back in 2009, the GT2 European Series just 3 years ago, and back in 2009, just under a year after it opened, it hosted the World Cup of Motorsport, the A1 Grand Prix. But this is the 13th time that Porsche Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge Brazil have visited the Algarve in over 2 decades of competition. As well, straight away, Gerson Campos has put in a very quick opening sector of 33.904. Here comes Caio Castro across the line. There is Gerson Campos, now coming through over the crest, down through the compression zone here at Craig Jones, turn 9, up the hill. And then, of course, at some point in the not too distant future, I think as early as next year, well, the 992.2 Cup car, the new generation vehicle, is currently in use at a multitude of championships around the world. Of course, there will be no surprise at all that those cars will be in use here in Porsche Cup Brasil. And straight away, benchmark being set by a certain number 82. Gerson Campos with a 1:48.692. Enrico Pedrosa goes P2. And then Daniel Neumann P3. As again, you see this, the suspension rebound from the number 22 of Caio Castro. As he goes through Galp at turn 15. But once again, the man who leads the way of the organisation for the C6 Bank, Porsche Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge Brasil, Denner Pires. I have to say compliments to him for the amount of hard work that he and the team put in, year out. And this one has been a special one for many a reason. I mean, there was even on the Porsche Cup Brasil Instagram page a little discussion of where we should go next. Some people said Spa, some people said Monte Carlo. I think Spa could be a very good choice, but that depends on Denner Pires and what he and the team want to do. I mean, to get over 30 plus cars to Le Mans is a big ask. But we are getting into the tail end of this top 10 shootout. Nicholas Garfinkel yet to set a lap time in the number 10 car, which has got, as you can see there, 5 kilos of ballast. He's going to come over the crest out of Galp, and Garfinkel, where does he place? Oh, that's a solid lap, P3, as overall fastest opening sector. Oh dear, and well, all I'm going to say is this. Nicholas Garfinkel's lap time gets deleted. Here comes Cecilia Rebello, coming currently in P9. Where's this going to put her? It's a good lap, P5 for the number 98. There's Daniel Neumann wrestling with the back end of the number 21 car. And still with 3 minutes to go. There's still any possibility. So, right, change. Big change. Well, now Gerson Campos is getting quicker. He's had a lap time deleted. So, Gerson Campos. Oh, straight. Right. He's improved. His previous lap, he's just done a 1:48.324, and that has put him nearly 2 tenths quicker than Enrico Pedrosa. And Gerson Campos again going faster than anybody else. Here comes the number 10 again, Nicholas Garfinkel. He's got to come across the line. What lap time can he put in on this particular occasion? It doesn't seem to be going right for Garfinkel at the moment, because that's another lap time deleted. Well, when you think about it in that perspective, Garfinkel's having an absolute nightmare, and I think it's mainly because of the track limits side of things. So from that perspective, Garfinkel's going to have to focus in And he's not the only one suffering, because Will Cesar has also had lap times deleted. Gerson Campos has just done the fastest overall opening sector, slightly down on his best effort in sector number 2, but this could be an improvement here for the co-host of Acelerados. Down the hill he comes, through Galp, Gerson Campos. Will this be an improvement on lap time? Can he go quicker than a 48.324? No, not quite. Not quite. It was a 48.333. Oh, and we've had a spin. Sneto Hayel in the 331, currently P8. Cecilia Rebello has improved, and she, with 25 kilos of ballast on board her 991.2 car, that is now the Challenge Sport leading car. And she's gone 2/10 quicker than Gabriel Guppa. So Cecilia Rebello waiting for the opportune time to strike. She hasn't improved on the opening sector. She's actually lost a bit of time in there as we hit 0 on the counter. Gerson Campos, if he was like literally a 10th quicker, he would have improved his pole winning time. Cecilia Rebello down through Galp for the final time and is going to abort the lap. That is going to put her on the inside of the second row for race 1 later on today. But it is muito parabéns to Gerson Campos, who takes pole position by 3 1,000 shy. And your heart can only go out to Nicholas Garfinkel in the number 10 Porto liveried car. Right, we've got a car stopped out on the circuit. That is going to be, I can't really make out the number from here. Couldn't really see the door or the right-hand side of the front windscreen. But that car is going nowhere. I'm wondering if that might be Will Cesar, who has not crossed, well, he's just crossed coming to the pits. So, I'm wondering if it's not Caio Castro, not Gabriel Gupper, it's not Daniel Neumann either. So, the question yet to be answered. But out of the final corner, Nicholas Garfinkel comes through Galp. Oh, those shock absorbers aren't liking what's going on at the moment. But can Garfinkel finally get a lap time on the board? No, looks like Garfinkel's luck is out. Pretty much for the number 10 car. The Garfinkel is having an absolute nightmare. I think that is. Oh, that is. Hang on, that's Gerson Campos. Campos has stopped in sector 2. So a technical drama for Gerson Campos, but he still picks up pole position. The recovery vehicle is going to have to go there. Enrico Pedrosa takes P2 by just under 0.2 of a second. Cecilia Rebello for Challenge Sport takes the pole winning time in that class, P3 overall ahead of Gabriel Gupper, and she beats him convincingly with 25 kilos of success ballast on that number 98 car. And that will effectively be row number 2. Daniel Neumann, Sadek later. There's Daniel Neumann there on the replay. And this is going to be heading into turn 9 at Craig Jones, I believe. That's Gabriel Gupper in the number 3 car. Sadak later, not exactly the best one for Sadak, I'm afraid. Number 66 car finds himself P4 in class, P6 overall. And there is Gerson Campos in the 82. But Campos takes a pole position here at Portimao despite stopping in Sector 2. Neto Heil rounds out the top 8. Nicholas Garfinkel, unfortunately, the only driver in the top 10 shootout not to secure a bona fide lap time. Multiple track limit infringements on its 4 laps of qualifying meant that the number 10 Porto liveried car would not get a chance. Caio Castro in the number 22 looked very good in his group qualifying session earlier on, but ends up P7 overall in the Challenge Division, P5. There have been twists and turns in this qualifying session. Will Cesar also having dramas with track limits. Would have to settle for 9th overall, 6th in his class in the challenge category. And there is Daniel Neumann running in the same kind of livery. Oh, Gerson Campos, look at that. The right rear plexiglass window flapping in the breeze as he would go through turn 9. But Gerson Campos, of course, there's also some sporting regulations, possibly about having enough fuel in the car for the scrutineering team to take a sample. But if it's a technical failure, then the team has to get to work on that number 82 for the first race of the weekend for Sprint Challenge. And that is due to start at just before 3:10 this afternoon. Local time here in the Algarve. But nevertheless, qualifying as always here is very much exciting and close quarter, especially when you consider from Gerson Campos to Saragleita, 4.5 tenths between the top 6 overall. But that concludes qualifying with Thiago Vivacqua and Gerson Campos on pole position for Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge Brazil here at Portimao. Join us just before 2:30 p.m. local time here live on YouTube with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, as we get ready for the first races of the weekend. We'll see you later. Take care until next time.